Good morning, Year 11, and welcome today to your screencast for Health and the People, so your medicine topic. And today we're going to be looking at anaesthetics, which links to your flashcard pack 16. And we're going to be looking at anaesthetics in the industrial period, which is 1750 to 1900. If we think about the themes of medicine then, disease, public health and surgery, it links very heavily with surgery. And if we go think back to other anaesthetics that we've talked about in the medieval period, they were able to use opium and alcohol to stop pain, but there was a negative of that because too much would lead to death, so they didn't understand the dosage. So at the beginning of the industrial period, surgeons had no way to effectively prevent pain because they didn't understand the dosage. So yes, they could prevent pain during an operation with alcohol or opium, but what they couldn't do is do it effectively because they didn't understand the dosage. Now, the first example I gave you was of ether, and that's in your flashcard pack. And ether was used to remove a tumour, to help the surgery to remove a tumour in 1842, so I would say that was a success. However, again, it was seen as unsafe because of the flammable nature. So what surgeons were really after was a safe anaesthetic, a safe painkiller to help with surgery. And the person who kind of found this was James Simpson. And this is really important. James Simpson's a really important figure. And what's tricky for you guys is the fact that a lot of people mix up these words, anaesthetics and antiseptics. So people get anaesthetics and antiseptics mixed up, and that means they get James Simpson and they get Joseph Lister mixed up. So it's really important that we link anaesthetics with James Simpson and we talk about the right thing, okay? It's not necessarily important that we even remember the name of James Simpson. As long as we know what an anaesthetic is, it is a painkiller, we are happy, okay? Because then you'll be able to remember the story of a painkiller. So, in terms of James Simpson, then how does his story go? Well, he was hosting a dinner party, and at the dinner party, some chloroform was knocked over, and Simpson's wife found Simpson and all his friends asleep about an hour later. So James Simpson decided to investigate this chloroform and realised that it was an anaesthetic. So he found that chloroform was an anaesthetic. Now, it was seen as unsafe in the short term because one example would be the fact that a surgeon took a woman called Hannah Greener and did surgery on a toenail but gave her too much of the dosage and it killed her. So again, you know, even though chloroform is seen as effective much later on, immediately it was still that problem with too much of a dosage. However, doctors worked on the dosage and eventually it became kind of more accepted. Again, Queen Victoria made it accepted in 1853 because she used it to help her give childbirth. So before Queen Victoria, chloroform was rejected by religious people because they thought that pain, especially during childbirth, was a gift from God, but also from soldiers. Soldiers and women in childbirth should feel that pain because it's pain from God and you shouldn't stop that. But Queen Victoria, because she's God's voice on earth at the time, because she uses it, it becomes accepted by Christians. So she's a really important individual here. So ultimately what we have here is this is massively positive. So the idea of anaesthetics, we've got they're positive, all of them are positive at stopping pain. So ether and chloroform, so anaesthetics are positive at stopping pain, but they didn't have a perfect one until chloroform in 1853 when they perfected the dose. And if we think here about the Factors of medicine, I said that right this time. Ron Weasley is ginger, that's so crackingly cool. We can talk about religious opposition immediately to anaesthetics. We can talk about individuals such as Simpson and Queen Victoria. We can talk about science, the fact that Simpson investigates, and without that investigation he'd never really have found chloroform. And we can also think of the idea of chance as well, the fact that if someone hadn't knocked over chloroform, would Simpson have even got round to investigating chloroform?